So thanks a lot for inviting me here. I'm very excited to be there. So my work is it's very complementary with the work you're doing here because I'm focusing a lot on visual behaviors. So you will have to bear with me on the example I'm going to show you. That sound is not up to date of what you're doing in research because we're really focusing on virtual behavior. So the aim that I've been looking at for many, many years is to create those virtual agents that often are referred to embodied conversational agent. And we want to endow them with human communicative capabilities. That means that we want to assure that those agents will communicate through verbal and non-verbal means. And they will be able to display a wide range of social-emotional signals and be also socially aware to fully interact with the humans interacted, as much as we would like them to be able to take different roles in the applications. So some of the research questions we have been tackling over the years are, how can we capture the variety and suppleness of humans' behaviors? What are the communicative, social, and emotional function of behaviors? When and which behaviors to display? And also, how can we make a virtual agent that is a fully interactors with humans and that can copy and adapt its behaviors to users' behaviors? In this talk, I will focus on several social signals that are multimodal, that we know, they're dynamic, they're transient, and they may have a large variety of communicative functions that can convey information about attitude, relationships, but also be a signs of engagement, involvements. They can also be used as conversation management, like for turn-taking interruptions and all that. So I'm going to focus on 4 different types of social signals that we've been studying over the years: smile, laughter, and lately that we're currently working on, interruption and social attitude. So let me go through each of those topics. For each of those topics, we'll follow basically the same methodology, where we start from human-human studies, human-human interaction studies, and try to apply it to human-agent interactions. So to do that, we first built database, we do analyze it, build computational models, and evaluate it. So it's very, very classical approach. So let's start with smiles, and this work was conducted mainly by Magali Ox. That was a postdoc at the time. So smile. Smile, there's a lot of study by Ursula S., Paul Ekman, and that mentioned that there may be more than 50 types of smiles that will vary in morphology, dynamisms, but also in communicative functions. So you can have smiles that can convey positive meanings, but also negative meanings, like showing embarrassment or irony and all that. And smiles may have different effects on how people perceive a smiling person, but also how it affects the user's behaviors, the other person's behaviors. So a smiling person will be, especially showing positive smiles, will be perceived as being more outgoing, warmer, more attractive, trustworthy. Identically, a smiling virtual agent will be perceived as more convincing, more attractive, and also more trustworthy. And a smiling agent will have a positive effect on users' interaction. It will enhance its motivations, its enthusiasm, and help him to take some decisions. So this is one of the reasons we decided to focus on the smile. So we conducted 4 different types of studies where we built a corpus, we validated this corpus, then we study the impact of smiles, the different smiles on user perceptions of the social stance of the virtual agent, and then we finally study the effect of smiles during an interaction, human-agent interaction. So one of the times when we work on smile, it was like almost 10 years ago, it was it was difficult for us to build a corpus of human smiles, because I mean, it was not so easy to gather data, nor to analyze it, and especially at the times, we didn't have access to very accurate automatic analysis tool to detect facial expression in very fine grain. So we decided, let's take another approach. We'll ask users to create their own smile behaviors on the virtual agent. To do that, we created a toolbox where on one side you have the different morphology parameters of smile. So, for example, corner of the mouth up, opening of the mouth, tension in the lips, crow's feet, raised eyebrows, and things like that. And we had also dynamic fixtures, so onset, offset for the movements, duration of the smiles. There was the videos. Whenever you selected the parameters, we had the videos of the virtual agent that shows the values, the animations. And the task of the agent, of the users, was very simple. Do polite smiles, do an amused smile, and embarrassed smiles. And in no times, we had quite large corpora of smiles, more than 1,000 smiles, and people, the users that participated in the studies really enjoyed it a lot. It was quite fun for them. So when we got this corpora of smiles, we applied machine learning techniques to classify the different type of smiles we obtained for depending on their functions. So here we used simple decision trees, and we got 7 amused smiles, 10 polite, and 3 embarrassment patterns that came out of these studies. And let me show you some of the different type of smiles we obtained. So you will see different variation of amused smiles. They all share several parameters, but they do vary. So an outcome of these studies was to be able to create variability of behaviors for the virtual agent, still controlling the meaning of the behaviors. So like that, hopefully it will lower the robotic effect of the virtual agent that always display the same behaviors to communicate the same functions. And the last one. No. Okay. So once we've got this corpora, I mean, you notice it was created out of context. We just have the virtual agent with no further information asking, create polite smile, amused smile, and all that. So we wanted also to validate it, the behaviors we obtained in a context. So we created different scenarios that were validated to convey polite, amused, embarrassed context. And we asked participants to choose which smiles will fit best the different scenario. So it was a very simple interface. So we had the scenario on the top, the different videos that were shown, and we asked to rate which has the appropriateness of the different smiles associated to each of the scenario. Like that, after we could apply some statistical measures, and we found that 10 out of the 12 smiles that we considered for these studies were rated appropriate. We found that they were appropriate to the corresponding categories. So it helped us to validate the corpora we obtained. So that was validation of the corpora. Still now, we have to study what is the effect of smile. What is the effect of smile? How users perceive the social stance of an agent showing a smile, a different type of smiles. So we wanted to measure this impact. And we looked at a positive context. So we looked only at amused and polite smile. And the context was the agent was saying a very, very simple riddle. I mean, very childish reader. So you have an examples here, like good morning, I know little riddle, what is the future of yawn? I sleep. So we took it from kids' riddle. And we place smiles or no smiles, positive, polite or amused smiles, in very precise positions before, after, or during the joke. So let me show you an example. The readers in French, we conducted a study in French, so at least you can see the animation.
Bonjour.
A smile.
Je connais une petite blague. Qu'est-ce que c'est qu'un canif? Un petit chien. À une prochaine pour une autre blague.
Okay, so you could see 3 different types of smiles, polite, amused, and polite. And we could, wherever on those things, we will vary, put either another type of smiles or no smiles. And we had 242 participants.
Bonjour.
Oops. And again, the participant had to watch the videos. We had a male and female agent, and we asked them to evaluate the social stance of the virtual agent using different qualifiers. We had positive qualifiers and negative qualifiers, 6 of them. And we asked them also to rate the degree of joke funniness, how they found the jokes. What we found is that was an impact of the smiles of the virtual agent on users' perceptions of the social stance of the virtual agent. So we had a significant effect of smiles. So when the agent was smiling, either using positive or polite or amused smiles, the agent appeared warmer. It had also a significant effect of the smile type. So amused smile, when the agent used amused smiles a lot, it appeared warmer and more enjoyable. And also, there was some effect of genders, but I mean, it could be simply of the appearance because we use only 2 agents. But its smiles also had effect on how users interpret the riddle. Users prefer the riddle and judge the riddle funnier when the virtual agent uses smiles. And the judge that the virtual agent thinks the riddle is funnier when the agent smiles. So it was quite incredible that we found that the social signals, those results are very similar to what you find in human studies, that the social signals, like here, a smile, will be viewed by the users as information on the mental state of the virtual characters, what the virtual characters think about the riddle. And also, it will impact users' perception of the message, so how the users find the riddle. So that was how users perceived as the readers. But again, here, the users just watch the videos. It was not part of the interaction. So the last study we conducted is to have the users freely interacting with the virtual agent. And for that, we use the cement platforms. It was, for us in our lab, the first human-agent interaction systems that works in real times. And these platforms, it was part of an EU project, the cement project. The users had to interact with the virtual agent for 3 minutes. And it was proactive. I mean, the users had to talk. The agent was mainly a sensitive listener, providing feedback and things like that. So the agent couldn't answer questions, but the users could talk about any topic. And we had 4 conditions: 2 virtual agents, male and females, and 2 behaviors, no smiles and smiling behaviors. And after the 3 minutes interactions, we asked users to answer several questionnaires about their personalities and also about the perception of the virtual agent. What we found that no users, except 1, I think, noticed the condition of the smiling and no smiling conditions. So they didn't perceive the different condition of the studies. And it has a significant effect on the different dimensions we looked for the social attitude. So when the agent was in a smiling condition, it appears warmer, more natural, funnier, more spontaneous, more polite, less boring, and less cold. Again, here we find some effect of the character, virtual character. So that was for smile. So smile is a very, very common behavior, but laughter also is an extremely common social signal. So that was part of another EU project called ILERA, and we looked of this different type of laughters, and again, laughters can convey different functions. It can provide some feedback about humorous stimuli or praise statement. It can also mark embarrassment and be like here in conferences, if you notice during coffee breaks, there's a lot of laughters because it's the social markers of in-group belongings, and it's used a lot among us, and you will notice it as a coffee pause that you see, you can hear a lot of laughters, and it can be used as a speech regulators and also elicit interlocutor laughters. So we wanted to undo the virtual agent with laughing capabilities. And again, we focus on data collections, evaluation of a laughing agent, and after have an agent laughing with the humans. So for the data collection, what we got, so we use mocap, and we had also those green balls to capture shoulders movement, as well as breast. Oh, sorry. It's nice to remind me of my presentation today. And there, so we could see in that quite a lot of things happening. So laughter is extremely multimodal. So you have a lot of torso movements, facial expressions, head movements, breathings, and also they're gazing at each other a lot. Laughter is very social behaviors. In fact, to do this the database, it took us a lot of time. It took us almost a year. Because first we said, okay, we use one person. We put a lot of, all the markers and all that, and tell them jokes or make them do stupid things. Absolutely. And of course, you had everybody, the technicians and the researchers, looking at the poor person with all the markers, trying to make them laugh. No laugh was triggered, absolutely not. We said, okay, let's stop. And here again, everybody started laughing because they were more relaxed, and they were in social interaction. So, okay, we have to change completely the scenario for creating this corpora. And it's where we put people, 3 people, doing the same task, looking at stupid movies you can find on YouTube, and doing social games. La barbichette, we say in French. I don't know, it's really stupid childish games. And we had so much laughters. And if you could see how the 3 people gaze at each other, turn to each other a lot, to just show, this is funny, and like that. So laughter is social. So we had mocap data, audio data, and each of those laughter episodes were segmented, and we were extracted the pitch and energy using Pratt. Okay? So we wanted to create laughing agent, and it turned out to be much more complex than we thought at the beginning, because laughing is really a full body movement, and it's very much coordinated. So we use a data-driven approach where we wanted to capture the link between audio features and multimodal behaviors. As input of our models, we have the laughters, which will be defined as pseudo-phonemes of laughters. That was the work of Jérôme Urbain from University of Mons. And he defines 12 pseudo-phonemes that describes the laughter sound, even also the silence there. And each of the pseudophonemes will be defined with a duration and intensity factors. And the output will be the animation parameters, facial and body animation parameters of the virtual agent. For the animation generator, we consider 3 things. One was to capture the rhythmic patterns during laughter. You could see in the in the shoulders movement as well as the body leanings. It's very rhythmic patterns. We also look at the dependency of the facial expression movements and the audio laughter. So we used techniques coming from speech to animation generators. And after, finally, we looked at the modality coordinations, how head and torso coordinate, movement coordinate with each other. We found there's a strong correlation between the different motions, especially during exhalation phases. So let me show you an example. Okay. It took us 3 years to get that. Sometimes it's I feel bad, but I mean, it was really hard work. The student was excellent. So again, as for the smile, okay, so we finally got the smile, the laughter. Let's see how a laughing agent is perceived, how users perceive the social stance of the laughter. So we go back to the study we've done with smiles, where the agent tells a stupid riddle, and here we consider either smiling or laughing context. So we have several participants, and we have 4 conditions where the agent speaks the riddle and laugh or smile when the agent pronounces the punchlines. And we also ask users to tell readers. And we had 2 conditions where the agent will listen to the readers and laughs or smiles. And our hypothesis was laughing agent will appear warmer, more amused, less stiff, less boring, and less cold than a smiling agent. So let me show you an example. So again, it's in French, but it can tell you something.
Pourquoi le hibou est content? Parce que sa femme est chouette.
What was quite incredible here, I mean, you speech person, so you must have noticed it. We use speech synthesizer for the speech and natural laughter for the laugh. Nobody noticed it. I mean, nobody told us this is very, very, very awkward. So maybe the participants were working only on visual behaviors, not on speech, but or they were completely taken by the animation of the agent, let's say. So we ask again a question about the reader, if they understand the readers, if they believe the agent, how much the agents like the readers, and how much the users like the readers. And again, we use positive qualifiers and negative qualifiers. As a result, we got similar result as we obtained from the smiling behaviors. So laughing agent looks more liking the readers than when it's used simple smiles, and laughing agent appears warmer and more amused, less bored and less cold than a smiling agent. So really laughing increase the social stance, the positive social stance of an agent. But we also found that participants express disappointment when the agent didn't laugh at their jokes when they told the joke. And they express satisfaction when the agent did laugh at their joke. So that was quite interesting. So we noticed that laughing had an impact on how users perceive the social interaction and also perceive the message of the interaction. So we wanted to see what is happening when there's a full interaction really happening. So it was for us too difficult to define, to determine when to laugh. Because in the last evaluations, we knew exactly where to put a laugh. It was at the punchline. So that was quite easy. You detect, when you have the readers, it's always the same format. You say the 6 pause and the punchline. So that was easy to trigger a laugh. But in normal conversations, if you laugh at the wrong moments, this is absolutely terrible. And we didn't have mothers that could know, that could determine when to laugh. So we use another context. I'm going to explain a specific context. So in this study, we wanted to see what is the impact of a laughing agent that laugh at the same time as the humans, but show some motor resonance with the users. That means when at very low levels, the agent adapt its laughing behaviors to how humans moves. So it's really low level of synchronization happening between both interactant. And we base these studies on previous studies where we looked at the effect of dynamic couplings between interactant, and we found that it enhances the sense of engagement. So this is why we wanted to see if we could replicate this study for the laughing behaviors. So the copying paradigms we use is that the expressivity behaviors of the virtual agent will be dynamically adapt to users' motions. So the architecture is as follows. So we have users, and we have a Kinect and microphone that detect the movement, the laughing intensity, and the body parameters of the of the humans. And we use models that will modify on the fly at each frames how the behaviors of the agent. And as the interaction paradigms, we use music. So both users and agent listen to music, but specific music. We created, that was University of Geneva, that created music stimuli following the principle of PDQ back. You know that? Yeah. Huh? So they have several principles that will distort the musics to trigger laughters. So it's what we've been using. We created several of those stimuli and asked the users to listen with the virtual agent to those stimuli. And the copying paradigms were as follow. So from the user space, we perceived his body movements and torso leanings, and those values will affect at each frame how the motor space of the virtual agent, how it moves its laughing behavior. So its torso leanings, its head joint, and shoulder joints. And like that, it shows some motor resonance between users' behaviors and agents' behaviors. Okay, so let me show you two examples where you have no copying behaviors. So he was not understanding very much what was happening to the users. And here we have the copying behaviors, so where the agent have its own laughing behaviors, but adapt the quality of its movement based on users' movement. So it's not copying directly. I mean, it's not like a part of movement, but the quality is adapted. Okay, so you get a sense. Huh? So we had 32 participants that listened to the funny music first without, then with the virtual agent. And the task, what we tell them at the story, is that they have to teach users, to teach agent when to laugh, so that the agent learn when is a funny moment of the music. And after the conditions, we evaluated user perception of music funniness, and we evaluated users' mood during the experience, and we also evaluated how they perceive the social and spatial presence and believability of the virtual agent. And we had several conditions where the agent, two conditions where the agent adapt or not adapt its behaviors to users' behaviors. What we found is that participants perceive the music as funnier when the agent was present and copied. So users' laughter intensity when they listen to the music alone, and the mood, participants' mood also was more positive when the agent was present. Okay, so it did have an effect. Okay, so that was good news for us for continuing working on virtual agents showing some social capabilities. So lately, we'll be part of an EU project called Ardia Valuspa, who's finishing up this year. And the aim of this project is to create agent with social capabilities, and in particular, to be able to handle unexpected events. So there's several partners, and many of the partners I've seen are here in these conferences. So in the task of our work is to have agent handles unexpected event, and here to be interruptions, and also be socially expressive, so show different interpersonal attitudes. I'm going to focus on those two works. That's still going on, so we still couldn't finalize all the different studies. So again, we needed to have a database. So it's called NOXI, and NOXI means it's a novice expert interaction database where we ask participants to define which topics that interested it. It could be music, video games, dance, sport, whatever, travels, they decide. And novice will be people that want to learn about this topic. So we match interacting from what they know and what they want to learn. So we didn't have a real specific topic. We just asked them to discuss on topics that they enjoy about. Okay, so it was a screen-mediated recording, so both participants were on different rooms, and they would display, other participants would display on very large screens, so we had full-size video. And we had Kinect and microphone to detect also user behaviors. Okay, so you can see here, we had about 80 sessions, 25 hours, and we have quite a lot of different languages, so mainly English, French, and German. And we have also some metadata, personality, relationship levels, and also demographics data. Okay, so I forgot to mention that in the scenario, at specific moments, we created an unexpected events. Like the expert, we told him that he's going to receive a phone call. So we gave him a mobile, and we called him up, and he answered that. And we could see how the other interaction, the novice reacted to this interruption. So let's look at how interruption is doing. So we want to have the agent manage interruption. So we have to study the different types of interruption, when to predict users may interrupt, but also how the users react to agents' interactions, and after have the agent proactively interrupting users. So far, we've been focusing how agent can behave when this users interrupt the agent. So looking at the taxonomy, we found that you can find two different types of taxonomy. One which is built on the type of interruptions, and after on the strategy of the interruptions. So for the types of interruptions, we looked a categorization based on the timing and overlaps of terms, and we find that you can have long overlaps, short overlaps, or no overlaps for the interruption type, but you can have also different strategy, can be disruptive or cooperative. For example, disruptive is when you talk about another topic, cooperative when you're finishing the sentence of the person, or you ask for the clarification questions, okay? So we could discuss, or we could see several types here. So we looked at the impact of the different type of interruption. And for that, we're conducting, again, an evaluation studies where we try to focus on the interruption types and the interruption functions, leaving aside the behaviors. That's why we use two silhouettes. They're exactly the same, and again, same speech. I'm going to show you an example. We looked 4 different contexts, And for each context, we looked at types and strategies. So for example, for the function understanding question.
You know, I've read the book Alice in Wonderland. It tells an amazing story about
When were you in the
Wonderland theme park?
So again, it was the same speech synthesizer for both voices, but nobody mentioned that it was exactly the same agent. You didn't notice it. And as a result, we found that when there is some overlaps, the agent appear more dominant and less friendly. But when it's cooperative strategy, it shows that the agent is fully engaged in the interaction. So interruption doesn't mean that it's going to be impolite or have a negative impact. It can have a very positive impact on the interaction. So of course, we have to be very careful on the type of interruption we'll be using. But how the agent should behave for an interruptions. So we looked at different types of reaction. So the halt, that agent stop talking and yell the turn to the virtual agent, to the users, overlaps. No, it's my turn. I continue talking, or I change behaviors. And we have different types of duration for each of the reaction, extra short, short, mediums, and long. So the way we're doing it is for the speech synthesis, we're using several block speech synthesizers. And when there's an interruption, and we have a new speech buffer that will be calculated for the reactions, and the current speech will be replaced. Okay, so for example, the halt, we replace with we stop the interaction, the talking. For the behaviors, the way we're doing it is that we have computing the behaviors of the virtual agent. So what has been already been shown is there. After we plan the behaviors, the next behaviors, what will be after the interruptions is gone. And during the times, the reaction times, could be extra short, short, medium, or long, we change the behavior. So we can have a hold behaviors in case of a halt, a replanning behaviors, if it is replanned, or an exaggeration of behaviors if it is an overlaps. So let me show you some examples.
Hello, my name is Alice.
So that would be normal without interruption. So here is with a halt.
Hello,
So you have hold behaviors.
Hello, my name is Alice.
So she will emphasize the speech and also behavior expressivity.
Hello, my name is. Stop interrupting me.
And after we can have the agents do whatever we want. That would come from a dialogue manager. Okay. So it's where we are right now. So we know the user's behaviors, the agent's behaviors, how we can handle different type of interaction, but we still have to do the most difficult part, which is when the agent should interrupt the users. So which types of interaction should they use, cooperative or disruptive, the different type of strategies, and also have to study what would be the impact of the interruptions on user-agent interaction, and also how the agent would be perceived, what would be the social stance, the perception of the social stance of the agent. So we still have to conduct quite a lot of studies for that. My last talk, so sorry, I'm going for those 4 different domains, is on buildings, interpersonal attitude model for the virtual agent. So an attitude is defined by Klaus Scherer as an affective style that's spontaneously developed and strategically employed in the interaction between persons, coloring the interpersonal exchange in that situation. So what is important here in this social stance is you have the notion of style, which means that pervades all around the interaction, the way you move, and it colors interaction. So it's not shown by just one signal, like a smile, polite smile or a positive smile. It really colored the whole behaviors. So we wanted to have the agent display social attitude. So we didn't look at the one shot, one facial expression, or one body movement. Like, for example, here, I'm dominant. But that, if I'm smiling afterwards, maybe I'm not shown dominance anymore. But how the sequences of behaviors convey attitude. And so I'm going to show you how we've been conducting these studies. And we looked, the representation of attitude that we looked is a dimensional representation where we have the dominance axis and the friendly axis. So we wanted to see what make a person appear, for example, more dominant or more friendly. What are the behaviors, the set of behaviors, the sequence of behaviors that create such a variation? Why suddenly a person's appear to change attitude? So we wanted to find out the sequences of multimodal behaviors that would trigger the change in perception. So our work was to extract the sequences of nonverbal signals that will express such attitude variations, either an increase or a decrease. For example, using a head nod, smiles, and different torso leanings will increase the perception of friendliness, while eyebrows up and arm cross may increase the notion of dominance. So the models that what we propose is to create a sequential models of multimodal behaviors expressing social attitude variations. And this model should be automatic, so that we should extract automatically the multimodal sequences. It should be temporal, have temporal capability, so considers the ordered starting times and duration of the nonverbal signals. And it should be generative, so generate nonverbal behaviors for the virtual agent. So for that, we use temporal sequence mining algorithm. So we looked at a database that we got, and we applied multi-layers annotation. On one side, we annotated the behaviors, the nonverbal behavior of the virtual agent, and on the other side, we annotated the perception of dominance and friendliness in a continuous stream. So we use G-trace tools. So on one side, you have, I would say, segments of behaviors at a multi-level thing. So for smile, gaze at, body movements, gestures types, head movements. And on the other level, you have this continuous representation for the attitude. So how it goes from submissive to dominance to, again, neutral to dominance and things like that. Several studies have been using such an approach, and it mentioned that you have to take into account reaction lags for the continuous the dimensions, and we took it into that account. And so we focus here in the dimension where you have a change of perceptions for the attitude annotation. So we look at for the increase or decrease. And for each of those topics, we applied an algorithm, hierarchical clustering a priori-like procedures that will extract the sequences of behaviors appearing in those variations, and that will extract the most common patterns of behaviors during this variation of perception of dimensions, of attitude dimensions. So at the end, what we have sequences of behaviors that convey variation of attitude changes. But now we want to have the agent that communicate several intentions, communicative intentions, with a variation of social attitude. So somehow we have to have the agent communicate two streams, communicative intention with a variation of social attitude. So the way we do it, we give a set of communicative functions, communicative intention, that is expressed in a specific language called FML, for function markup language, and an attitude variation, dominance increase, friendliness decrease, and things like that. And for example, here you have an examples where we have 3 different communicative intention defined by colors. So we will instantiate the different intentions into non-verbal behaviors. So for example, the 3 different communicative intention will be specified, will be communicated by different multimodal signals. And then we will select from the database of sequences of behaviors that we have that express a variation of attitude. We will select the sequences that is the most similar to the sequences linked to the intentions. So for example, we selected these sequences here. Finally, we enrich whenever possible this intention, the first sequence, for representing the intention sequence. We will add the behavior coming from the attitude variation. We'll add them to the intention sequences. So we enrich the sequences, the first sequences for the intentions. And whenever possible, we replace some of the attitude, some of the signals from the intention by signals, values from the attitude. For example, the facial expression will be instantiated from the attitude, which will be here, for example, a frown. So like that, at the end, we have sequences of behaviors that convey communicative intention and also social attitude variations. So let me show you examples. Here we have an example of dominance decrease.
In your previous professional experiences, what made you the most proud?
Okay, and dominance increase.
In your previous professional experiences, what made you the most proud?
So in both of those examples, the communicative intention were the same, so the same text and the same communicative intention. The only thing that varied was the attitude variation. So we conducted an experimental studies where we had participants rated the videos of the agent changing its change of attitude compared to videos showing no attitude. And we use 16 adjectives that are spread around the circles, the 2D dimensions of the attitude representations. And what we found is that dominance increase would be evaluated as more dominance, more hostiles, and less friendly. And you can see that in green is the colors that the variables that are expressed in the comparisons, while in the red it would be the variables that are more expressed in the reference videos. And for example, a friendly decrease, the agent will appear more hostile and less friendly compared to the reference videos. Again, for this work, we need to evaluate the attitude models in human-agent interactions and also have the agent adapt its behaviors in a dynamic setting. So really work more on mimicry, parameters, gaze behaviors for the virtual agent, and also how it can adapt its engagement levels depending on the user's display of social attitude. Okay, so thanks a lot for staying with me for this talk. And
yes, it's now open for discussions. I can see one here, our chairman, yes.
Okay, I will show my ignorance about laughter and so, but I thought that, in my view, laughter has to do with some sort of picture of the world that you get in the listener that is somehow disrupted by some logical mismatch or so. And then I think of, people in the autism spectrum syndrome. And so, and I wonder how much control can one have in a situation like this about what is going on? Because you can laugh either because you are in the task or because you are totally out and you are thinking of something else.
Yeah, but I think here, I'm not able to answer fully to this question because we didn't study it. But you can, several studies, and that we didn't do it on the virtual agent, but we, several other partners of this ILER project, studied with humans. There's different type of laughters, and people perceive those different type of laughters, okay? And after you have the timing, the reaction to the stimuli could be coming from an external events or from your partner's events. And that will be, I think, crucial for understanding what is happening. I mean, what is the underlying intention? I don't say that it's 100%, you will find it 100%, but that is true for any communication, human-human communication. But you have to be aware that you have those different type of laughters and that you can perceive it. As for the smile, except here we focus, I forgot to mention, in just one type, hilarious laughter. But psychologists say that you can have 15, 20, 23. There's still debate on the type of laughter you have, but you can have different type of laughter, and people do recognize that, perceive it.
In your interpersonal behavior, when you showed the increase and decrease of friendliness or whatever, arrogance, do you adapt speech to those patterns? Because it doesn't seem like you're adapting speech.
No.
And that's why there is a dissonance between the behavior and the speech.
Absolutely, but it's true for whatever studies we are doing. As I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, we don't work with speech, unfortunately, and so we really have no knowledge. So we're using speech synthesizer as a black box. That's it. So yeah, we had the same problem when we work on emotions, on attitude and things like that. Yeah, I fully agree on that. Fully agree.
Hello? Oh. Thanks for your talk. I was wondering to what extent a participant's perception is influenced by the novelty. So probably they encounter the agent for the first time, and to what extent does that influence the perception?
So most of the time we didn't ask that for every evaluation study we've conducted, but when we asked, we didn't find variations, we didn't find statistical differences. And to overcome sometimes this effect, for example, when we work on the smiles and also for the laughters, we have the agent tell the task, the instruction task to the users. So the users can get acquainted to the agent's quality of animations and voice quality also. So that's how we try to overcome that. Otherwise, we really didn't find so far differences. But again, here, and that is true for all the work we've been conducting, each time it's a short-term interaction. The maximum we've done was 3 minutes. And it's I guess we'll have very much differences when we go for long-term interaction. So all the research we've done here is really for short-term interaction. You have to take that into account. So novelty may happen there when you interact with virtual agent for hours and hours or months versus when you interact just for 3 minutes. But I'm not able to answer to that.
Hi. In the laughter study with the funny music, aren't there any gender issues?
No, we didn't find any. for this, in this study. Doesn't mean that there's none, but that it was a very specific type of interactions, and there we didn't really find any. But I stop here. I mean, I don't conclude anything, because I mean, it was two specific interaction types to say there is no gender issue. I do believe there may be some. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Pascal Fong from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Thank you for an excellent talk. I have a question, because we also work with virtual agents. So there's this uncanny valley for likeliness. I mean, like looking like human for agents, right? So I just wonder, what is your experience with the, what is the curve? Where does it reach uncanny valley for the effect? So when the agent is laughing, is it seen as natural or spooky, or like what is the, where is the, where are we now, and what is the curve like?
So regarding uncanny valley effect, we didn't ask for specifically for this topic. We asked for the credibility, the believability of the virtual agent, the naturalness of the virtual agent. And as you can see, I mean, our virtual agent looks virtual. They really look synthetics. I mean, it's not that. And so in our own study, I mean, yeah, it looks, especially for the laughing, it looks a bit creepy. I fully agree on that. Especially it moves the torso in a very rigid ways. Where I believe uncanny valley is an important, is not only for the realisms, the visual and acoustic realism, but on the behaviors, on the timing of the behaviors, how the agent react. And that is where you can create really a strong effect. For example, in the Semine project, the agent looked even more creepy than the animation I've shown you there. It was really, but we managed somehow to have the timing of the behaviors of the virtual agent, how it will manage the turn takings, when it will provide back channel and things like that, somehow appropriately, that most of the users, not all of them, really fully interacted with the virtual agent. Okay, so in that, at these levels, looking really at the behaviors, not only at the quality of the appearance, you can have an effect. And I think uncanny valleys will matter quite a lot there. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
This time we must ask whether people behind your back, there is an alternative room. I have a question for you. Anyone over there that wants to ask Catherine a question? Oh, they react what we are saying. Yes, yes. But no question. Maybe we are now getting so close to the coffee time, actually, over time, so that this is time.
Rolf. Hello. Hi. Gerard.
There you are.
Yeah. Just perhaps the last before the coffee break.
Okay.
In fact, just to follow up the previous question, in fact, most of the time we build our models of multimodal interactive behavior by scaling human-to-human interaction to human-agent interaction. And after, you just verify that the interaction is smooth. But do you verify that the behavior of humans in front of humans and or virtual agents is really the same? You have a mean, in fact, to address this problem of, uncanny valley.
Yeah. So for the humans, for the Semine platforms, we looked quite a lot of the video. So we didn't conduct very thorough studies about that. But when we looked at the different videos that we got from the human-agent interaction, that was quite amazing, that the humans will imitate some of the back channels, will really interpret some of the behaviors of the virtual agent as you would do with humans' behaviors. But again, it's not a very thorough study, so I cannot fully answer that. Yeah, but hopefully one day we'll have virtual agents that are able to have long interaction where we'll be able to really study, build our models on human-agent interaction rather than fully only human-human interaction. It could have, it could make a change, but I'm not able to, we're not there yet. But yeah, it should be done more carefully. Mm.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Catherine. This has
Thank
been
you.
great.
Yeah.
Yes.